Hey there, my friends. Steve Gamlin here. Welcome to the latest episode of the Motivational Firewood Radio Show. And if you're seeing this in video also, hopefully you bought some stock in Zoom because we are zooming up the world these days, being virtual still at the time of this broadcast. And today I get to talk with an old radio friend of mine. She's not old, I'm old, but I've known this young lady for several years. She has the most incredible energy. She is a sweetheart of a human being, and she's all about plugging in and leaving situations in the world better than she found them. And she helps other people to do this as well. Her name is Julie Rose. She is the founder of GardenForeverTarot.com. So Julie, welcome to Motivational Firewood Radio.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. It's great to see your face via video.
I know, and we've been part of our mutual friend, Jim. Jim has had radio shows in the past, and that's how I met you. And gosh, we sat next to each other in so many studios over the years. It's great to have you now on my show. So as I said, at the time of this broadcast, we're still kind of in the whole Corona pandemic. You know, people can react the way they want. I don't judge either way. How are you dealing with all this, with all the different energy? I'll say different, not better or worse, with the different energy that's swirling around us in the year 2020, which is going to have an asterisk next to it for a long, long time.
It's been interesting. I feel like when it all kind of happened, it was very intense energy. And then, you kind of adjust to it. And I realize, you have to be safe, but you can't put all your focus on that. Otherwise, you'll just be in this state of fear. And you don't really need to be, and you need to be safe and aware, but you don't need to be in a massive state of fear and over anxiety about it all the time. And it's helped me to kind of separate from that energy just by not viewing it as much. You know what I mean? Because you're going to see it no matter where you go and what you do, but you can make a choice, be like, okay, yep, I need to do this, just wash my hands, wear my mask, and then kind of be like, okay, well, I'm living my life, because life doesn't stop no matter what's going on.
No. In business and personal life, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got two small businesses. So to me, there's people say work-life balance. To me, it's kind of what Tony Hsieh of Zappos, CEO of Zappos, says. It's work-life integration. I mean, my day is my day. I have 24 hours just like everybody else. And if my eyes are open, I'm thinking about business. And sometimes when my eyes are closed, I'm still dreaming about business. And if we start to get caught up in all that other energy swirling all around us from the people that just insist on causing chaos and confusion and anger all day, can really take us off our game.
And I totally agree with that. And it's true. And it's even like just being able to be more present in the present moment helps with everything. Because we're thinking about, oh, well, remember how it was before? And I took it for granted. And, oh, well, the future, we don't know. Or, oh, I don't know if it's ever going to, like, just literally being in the present moment has helped me a lot with just kind of navigating through this 2020.
And just the other day when I was getting ready for this conversation, doing some research, I was over on some of your social media pages. And it was just one of those days where the news is going crazy, all negative. People on social media are screaming all day long and throwing words around and insults and this and that. And then I go to your page and I see you playing a flute by a lake in the woods. And I thought, Julie gets it.
Well,
this is absolutely cool.
Yeah. That's why you see the forest behind me. I'm not actually in the woods, but I try to take the essence of it with me.
Yeah.
And, I know a lot of people don't have, all the time in the world to get out in nature. But I honestly, if you can get out even for 5 minutes a day, in the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, step out on your lawn, on your office break, go in the back and, look up at the tree, just put your phone down for a minute. You know what I mean? Take a couple of deep breaths and give, gratitude and thanks for those moments, and just start to think about all the things that you're grateful for, and that wow, like no matter what's going on, I still have this, I had that, and it just makes you feel so alive. You know what I mean? Because you can feel alive and feel good in any moment. You don't need something big event or anything to look forward to. You can be looking forward to right now. And that's what I forgot about for a while, especially during when it first happened with the Corona and everything else. And I realized right now, it's perfect. There's
Yeah.
nothing that serious in all reality. There's serious things, but in the giant scale of things, like in the universal, like multiverse, like, wow, there's nothing that serious,
Yeah.
so relax, it's
Yeah.
okay.
And I saw something the other day. I saw an article that said that our sun is actually going to burn out in about 5 billion years. And there were people freaking out about that.
Well, because we're conditioned to worry, we're conditioned to find things to panic about or fear and things like that. When you break that cycle, you realize you don't have to fall into that anymore, and it's great.
Yeah. And you struck on something really good. You were talking about at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. Let's talk about the beginning of the day. Going outside, taking a couple of deep breaths, just walking out your door and looking or looking up at a tree and just appreciating the tree. Or now at the time of this broadcast, the colors are starting to turn here in New England, and there's a beauty in that. And
Yes.
and so many people are already saying, oh, it's going to get cold. Well, dude, we got a month of really amazing foliage to look at first. And I know
Yeah.
we got to rake it up too when it's done and the trees all sneeze and it falls. I get that. But if we can just walk out the front door and appreciate a sunrise, or the leaves that are turning, or when I was coming back here to the recording studio today, I had to run to the post office real quick. There was a whole group of turkeys blocking the road, and they were in no fire hurry to get out of my way. And I just sat there laughing at how funny these turkeys are when they're like looking at me like, what the heck is this coming up the road? But hey, we got the right of way because we're in the crosswalk here. And even with that, as much as I'm, looking at my watch and gonna get back to the studio, I'm just sitting there in that moment laughing at the turkeys because they are in no rush to do anything. And there's actually kind of a joy in that.
There is so much joy in that. And like the morning, I call it the morning ritual. And if you can create one in even like just a half an hour, I know that doesn't seem like that much time, but if you can create a morning ritual for half an hour or to an hour every day, you'll notice just a change in the way your rest of your day unfolds. So I always have a hard time getting out of bed because I love to dream. I dream and sleep, and it feels so good. So I'm like, so right when I get out of bed, I feel kind of sluggish. What I've been doing is I put on a song, and upbeat song, motivational song, and I dance. I literally dance the first thing I do when I get out of bed. I dance for like 10 minutes, 2 songs. The songs I like are by Karen Drucker. She's a wonderful, inspiring musician. But you can put anything on that you like and just kind of move your body. You know what I mean? And, or, if you're not big into dancing, do some stretches. And that actually will help you kind of get going with the flow, because if all of a sudden you get up, you're sitting down again, you're kind of like, oh, well, I want to go back to sleep. Or even if you kind of get up and start doing, the dishes or folding your laundry, that's great and everything, but it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to be doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, I love to meditate, and I've been doing it daily recently since the virus. I should have been doing it before, but it made such a profound impact. And I like guided meditations. They help because my mind likes to run in a million different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to if you can just sit and, like you said, look up at the tree, have gratitude, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes.
Mm.
It's great. Don't go on your phone. Don't check your email. Don't turn the TV on. Don't do it. And like, even if you start slow, like, okay, 15 minutes. I woke up. Okay, now I'm on my phone. Okay, that's okay. Next day, 30 minutes. And then pretty soon you won't even have, if you don't have to, don't, you know what I mean? And then go on, because it's just like you're going right into that energy of whatever you're going to see thrown right at you, and you have no filter. You have no, okay, let me take a step back. This isn't me. I don't need to connect. I don't need to engage in this right now. Because when you do other things before you do that, you actually think about it first.
Mm. Yeah, and we're also conditioned right now. When we go outside, we see a beautiful tree. And many of us, because of the habits we've developed, can't just look at the tree for its beauty. We have to take 50 freaking pictures of the tree to see which one is just right for Instagram.
I know.
And we miss the gift because, and people have asked me over the years, they go, why didn't you take a picture of that? I said, I've already got it here and here.
Yes.
I'm good, because I know if I take that phone out, if I go back to the car and get it, I'm going to be on it. I'm going to say, well, I just need to do this. I just need to do this. What I just need to do is unplug and just be me and just absorb the energy around me. Find something beautiful to look at. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Tina came downstairs first, which is rare because usually I'm up first. And she came downstairs, and she yells up, she goes, "Hon, grab your phone or your camera, whatever you got near you up in the office. You got to see this sunrise." And it was just pre-sunrise, where it was just the orange glow and then the purplish layer. And I came downstairs and I sat there just watching it. Took a couple of pictures, but I just sat there watching it, was so amazed. What I also found was when I went to the kitchen without turning on any lights, a ray of light was coming from the front door, hitting a wall, went through the dining room, hit a wall in the living room that has a mosaic of mirrored art. And the reflection shot across the far end of the living room and lit up one of the plants in the window blinds that were there. Now, I never would have seen it if I'd come down, turn on all the lights and open the blinds and all that. It was just following the beauty of this light that was coming through. And what I hope people will remember about that is there's light every day. Too many people are staring at the darkness of the clouds or this and that, when we could be looking for those, just that little ray of light that was coming through. I mean, and the windows were so dirty, it would have been so much brighter had I washed them. But the light that was coming through and bouncing off, and I just stood there in awe. I'm like, does it do this every day? Because if it does, I'm going to come downstairs and watch it.
Exactly. It's just like your intention for the day, and being in that moment, you didn't even notice that. It could have been happening for years and you're missing. It's like people always ask, "Oh, I want a sign. And they only usually see signs after something, crazy happens, or they really, really want it. But signs are happening all the time, every single moment of every single day. We're just so in a go state that we don't take the time, if we just 2 seconds. Otherwise, we are never going to see the signs.
Yeah.
But that is such a beautiful thing because when you were talking about your story, all I heard was spirit, like all this energy, just giving you gratitude, just for you, everything you do, because you're an amazing person too. And it's just, I'm so happy to connect right now to be doing this. And it's just, a lot of people just sometimes need to hear what we say again, even though they know that certain things already. If you just hear it again, you're like, oh yeah, I need to hear things again too, about disconnecting from my phone. Don't take a million pictures. I'm like, sometimes I take a few, but then maybe wait a while till I post them or something, especially with these type of businesses. It's like, you need to have social media and things, advertising, but you can't be doing that all the time, because otherwise you won't be in that moment.
Right. And be open to receive the gift of each one. And just like you said, just let it simmer for a bit. We don't have to just go and post it.
Yeah.
Every single time. And then say, well, do I look better with the dog ears or the flamingo legs today? I'm not quite sure which filter I should use for this. Just sit there in the gift. And I've had days where I've done nothing except just be, I got plenty of work upstairs. I got plenty of work down here in the recording studio, but I'm outside with no earbuds and no iPod or any music or anything like that, listening to the wind, the breeze, the chipmunks chattering out in the back wall, because they've moved in for keeps. They've turned our stone wall in the back into like the biggest chipmunk condo I've ever seen. And I've just been out there and not thinking about, well, I got to go do this, I got to do this. Or what a lot of people do is they just walk through life staring at their shoes. And they're just so focused on what they have to do today that they're missing all the gifts around them. And they're missing opportunities to partner with people, to develop new messages, to make new connections. And it's kind of sad watching that.
And it is. And it's hard. You can't really tell people what to do. And it's especially family members and close loved ones. You're like, oh no, slow down, relax and stuff. But I noticed the best way to send a message to anyone is to be the energy you want to see. Act the way and speak the way and have the thoughts that you want to have in this world. And, sometimes I'll be out and about and I'll just, I'll smile and I'll say, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. And that person is miserable and they're complaining and they don't say, you're welcome. They don't say anything. And I still go, you know what? It's okay. It's all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And send them energy of love. And it's hard for people to do that, especially while driving. Oh boy, so I'll cut you off and speed in front of you. And I've learned to be like, you know what? I've been there. That's me. Everything around me is me. So I've had those days where I'm like, so I just smile and laugh. And the driving thing with me lately too is I've been really enjoying it. I've been, like you said, just actually putting my hand out the window, like resting as I'm driving and feeling the air and just being there, because we're so automatic when we drive. That's a huge automatic thing. And actually looking at the road, looking at the signs, looking and being more present in that moment is a huge thing. And then you expand your day because you're kind of not there. You're in your brain. Oh, I drive half an hour back and forth from work all day. I do this all the time. No, guess what? There's so many things that are happening. You can be, and project like great intentions during that time.
And it's great to watch people when they first start to do that and first start to kind of slow it down, let the hamster off the wheel a little bit and just be. And all of a sudden they ask you questions like they'll drive by something and go, how long has that been there? That's really cool. Yes. Like, it's older than I am. It was there every day. But when you see people kind of do that little mental slowdown and allow these things, they're all opportunities to either be appreciative or relax or have your creativity sparked or something. We start to notice these things more when we just slow down and breathe, because breathing is so important to our minds, to our hearts, to our bodies, to our circulatory system, to everything. I mean, breathing is so key. And you talked about meditation earlier. A dear friend of mine, Dr. Carlos Perez, does weekly crystal bowl meditations on Thursday nights. He actually does it as a Facebook Live. He's got listeners all around the world and viewers all around the world now who are tuning into him, and people saying, this is the only time all week that I just, and they say it just charges them back up. And I'm one of those people. I'm a huge fan of his, and I love to do that. So how do you get out and relax? And I already mentioned, sometimes you just walk in the woods with a flute. And you just go out there and be part of nature's orchestra.
Yes, I love, that's actually my favorite thing, to be just walking, hiking, sitting somewhere in nature. I also really, really love gardening. That's one of my passions. That's why it's business. My business is Garden Forever Tarot. So just sitting down, put my hands in the dirt, talking to the plants. I don't care what anybody else says, because everything is alive. It's scientific. It's just not aware in the way we perceive it, but it is aware. So I love doing that. I also, people watching is a really fun thing. And I like to watch people and look at them and then send them love, no matter who they are, and smile and just, either say like, sending you love, and just, it's like you're doing something but not really doing anything, and whatever you give out comes back. So I like to do that, especially when I'm at work or anywhere, and other things like that. I do love to be able to go to community, like events and communities, and they're not as much right now, so online is great too, to be able to connect more. And I have to check out that guy's singing bowls.
I'll send you the link to that when we're done our conversation. You will really dig Carlos, and I'll be sure to connect the two of you. And he's going to love hearing this interview.
Oh, great! I'm excited.
Yeah, and one of the big things this year, I've actually heard it, maybe you had as well, or maybe you've just felt the energy. I've talked to so many people, because I do the vision board work, and people with the goals, hopes, dreams, 9 major areas of their lives, and so often before, people are like, work, home, that's it. That's all they really worried about. I have heard from so many people who, whether they were furloughed or whether they had to start working from home, all of a sudden reaching out to me or getting on one of my free calls or being part of one of my sessions saying, oh my gosh, I do not want to go back to the life I was living before this. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like who I am. I don't like this. And all of a sudden, when they're off that treadmill, they start to realize that maybe they've been in a rut. And ruts aren't necessarily bad. I mean, people have routine, and that's great. But sometimes people all of a sudden realize when they have to get off of that little treadmill for a little bit, how much they didn't like it. And what I encourage people to do is start to figure out what will make them feel more alive, and how can they bring that into what they're doing. Now, I don't mean just quit your job and go bliss out at a
really
mountaintop.
running
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, please don't let anybody say, oh, I ruined my life because Steve told me to quit my job and go follow my passions. Because, because I did it that way. And I'll tell you what, it is not the easy way
No.
to do things. I did it. I don't recommend it. I recommend being a little more calculated. But hey, here we are, for better or for worse. But there's so much fear in the unknown. And there's a quote that I wanted to share, and I found this on your website. It was a little video of David Bowie, and I'm going to have to read it because I didn't have time to memorize all this. David Bowie said, and this was, I would say it was probably in the late 80s or 90s, he may have said this, judging by the hairstyle. If you feel safe in the area you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being, and go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting. So, why did you share that? Because I loved it. And B, what do you take from that? And what do you think is the suggestion for people? What would you want people to know about that feeling of the fear, the unknown, and maybe not having their feet just touching the bottom with their head still out of the water, able to breathe?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I am sharing that. I always loved David Bowie. And then the words in that moment when I heard them, I was just like, it just very profound. For me, it is the little nudges, the little inklings that you hear in your own voice, in your mind all the time, about things you want to do, exciting things, or stuff you've always wanted to try, wanted to be fun or whatever. And you're very capable. Usually you're very capable of doing these things, but you just don't. And then the other voice comes in, the ego is like, oh, well, you got to do a million things. Oh, it needs to be perfect. Oh, it's, that type of stuff. And it's just because when you finally actually do these things, get out of your comfort zone, try new things, you will either super succeed. It will just bring this rush of energy, or you know what? It might not work out that time and you try it again. It's all about experience. And a lot of the times we get into a comfortable place where like 90% of us, when we do these new things, are going to succeed. And it's a fear of success. All of a sudden I'm more responsible. All of a sudden I got to do these things. And your old self is like, well, you don't want to change the status quo. You like doing the same things every day. Like, oh, well, now you have to do new things. And it doesn't make much sense because everybody wants more, joy and happiness and abundance. And you're like, why am I stopping myself? And right now for me, I just need to push myself. And I feel like other people just need to, the Nike logo, just do it, and just try it, and don't compare yourself to other people who are doing it. They've been doing it for 15 years. You're going to try, say you're making a new YouTube channel, or you're going to make new jewelry, or whatever you're going to do. You can't compare yourself to someone who's doing it. Just do you. And even if there's a million people doing the same thing, it doesn't matter. There's so many people that want what you have to offer. Don't discredit it, and just find the time. And that's what you were saying about, like, oh, they go working every day and they come out of that, now they don't like it. What we do is we need to break the habitual routine, where we become this routine, this habit that we never do anything new. And then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, my one vacation I'm looking forward to once a year or something like that. Like, no, you need to try new things every day. So even if it was like taking a different road to work, or getting up a half an hour early and going for that walk, or going to bed an hour later because you started your knitting project. I don't know. It could be anything that you don't usually do that can spark something.
Yeah. And it's in people that are saying right now, well, I really don't want to go back to that. Sometimes it's not the job. It's not the work. It's who you are every day when you bring yourself through that door. And if you're working 50 weeks a year, just looking forward to 2 weeks off, and you're just grinding, you're not going to be worth too much when it comes time for those couple of weeks. I mean, you're just going to be so ground down. It's probably going to take you one of those weeks just to recover, to be able to actually relax. And I think what people need to remember is to sometimes it's not the job, it's not the work. It's who you are walking through the door. So if you can just work on creating a better version of yourself, a happier version of yourself, we can't just change the lane we're in all the time. But if you can be a little happier driving that lane and take on a knitting project. Heck, my mom knits, she knits mittens, hats, and scarves. And she's now even doing blankets for homeless people. And in her spare time, she just sits there and she puts on some nice music. She loves that country music, so she listens to that. Or puts on one of her favorite TV shows in the background, and the dog sits there napping next to her, and she just knits. And she does all this cool stuff. And it fills up her day, and it fills up her heart too. And even if she only has 15 minutes to do it, she will get something done and it will make her happy.
Exactly. And think about how many lives she's impacting by that, just by doing something that gives back. And like you just said too, about being more in the now, like you might not have those 2 weeks vacation. You might not have tomorrow. It might not to be like that. Like you got to plan for the future, but you also need to take advantage of today. Because that's all that really exists. Time is an illusion. Most people don't want to hear that. And when they hear it, they freak out. They're like, oh, what are you talking about? That's crazy talk. But go into a science book, you know what I mean? Look into history. Time is irrelevant. And it's, and as we progress with scientific inventions and things like that and technology, it will soon be the norm, being like, oh yeah, we could go back and forth with time. But that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah. Believe me, I don't want to go back too far. I wouldn't mind going back to a few different days because, I mean, although I'm one of those people that I honestly don't really have any regrets, which is something I really want to stress to people.
Yeah.
One of the exercises that I've done in the past, whether it be with Jack Canfield or Tony Robbins, is the front porch test. You know, I imagine myself at 90 years old, sitting in my rocking chair on the front porch. I've always described myself as covered in scars because I wasn't afraid to try anything. And each one's going to have a story. I don't want to be one of those people who is sitting on the front porch someday and just going over a list of regrets in my head. I wish I had started that business, even a little side hustle. I wish I'd told this person I loved them more. That's, I tell Tina every morning, first thing when I wake up, one of my feet finds her feet and I tell her I love her. And then she just shakes her head and she goes, I know. And then I start laughing. So, and that's how we start and end pretty much every day. We've been together 13 and a half years. But see, little moments like that. And I know some people, they've been married forever and ever and ever. They lose their partner and they say, I wish I'd told that person I love them more. I don't want to be one of those people. I want to try everything. I want to write. I've already published 4 books. I want to publish more books. I want to do more videos. I want to do more radio shows. I want to reach more people. So I've got to create something every single day, taken from my own life, not made up or copied from anybody else, my own energy, my own style, my own heart and soul, and put that into the world every day. Because like you said, you know, you're not going to be anyone else. And if you're brand new, don't start comparing yourself to somebody that's been doing this for years. I was coaching a friend the other day. I've been a speaker now 16 years, making videos for about 13 years and my radio shows. And a friend of mine is brand new to it. She goes, well, what if my first ones aren't that good? And I said, let's take that off the table right now. Your first ones, they're probably going to suck. But you're going to have to do those so that your next one is better. Your next one is better. I said, and then a number of years on, like I am now, I look back at my first ones and I go, oh my gosh, that's adorable. Like if you put macaroni and glitter around my very first quotes and memes and stuff, my mom would have it hanging on her fridge like my kindergarten project. But you got to put yourself out there. You got to impact a life around you in a positive way, even in the simplest way every day. And you do this with Garden Tarot, gardenforevertarot.com. You help people to find their mojo, find their energy. You give them, you kind of help define everything around them and you find the best.
Thank you so much. I really do enjoy doing readings. My expertise is tarot card readings. Mm-hmm. And when I do, and you know, putting out a lot of positive energy and stuff like that. And when I do readings, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna make stuff up. You know what I mean? Like if I see negative things, I will tell you, but in a good way. There's always a way to either avoid those negative things or lessen them, or maybe, you know, you can see a different perspective. But I mean, and then I'll tell you the positive things. My readings are very uplifting, and I'm real, and I'm not, you know what I mean? So, and when I feel like I help people help themselves. And and that's what makes me feel really good. And I also create all types of art and jewelry, and I put a lot of energy into that. And when people connect to it, I'm just so happy. You know what I mean? I just try to make what I feel like I like and people would like. I'm not like creating things that someone else is making. I mean, you could do that. That's great. But I feel like the more you come from your heart and make your own kind of uniqueness, people are just going to want it. People are just going to love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like your soul's thumbprint is on it.
Yeah.
Walk away with it. And I know because I have been, you and I have worked together on several readings.
Yeah, you were my first Skype reading.
I was your one of your very first when you were first launching the business. And you know, I think the great thing about it, especially the people who are confused or have all this energy swirling around them, you give them a bit of hope because you see something, they can see everything going on in their life and all the potential. They may not have the guts to go for it, but when you share with them, here's what I see, here's the energy I'm picking up, you give them that little bit of light and that little bit of hope. And in a way, somebody else who believes in them and says, look, this is a possible path for you, a possible journey for you. And you kind of shine the light down the pathway for them. And if they choose to go for it, great. But if not, you've kind of opened their eyes to this potential and also said to them, I believe you could do this.
Yes, exactly. And not only that, you know, I know a lot of people go to people like me, psychics and healers and things like that. And that is wonderful. But in real reality, we are all healers. We are all psychics. We have powers. Every single human being has powers within them that are so unbelievable that can help them, that they just need to tap into it. And a lot of people just were like, oh, well, that's not real, or, oh, I wasn't brought up to believe that, or not me. No, every single human being has such an energy and a source of love within them that they can use at any time. And the more you work at it, the better it will be. Just like, you know, an artist or someone who, you know, builds buildings, the more they build it or create it or whatever, the better they get. Same thing with your intuitiveness and your healing abilities. And we just kind of, I feel like psychics and healers just show a mirror and try to bring out the energy within yourself to help you. Like I said, help you help yourself. So
right.
I wish more people could understand that. And I know everybody's not ready for it. Even if you say it to someone, they might go, oh, yeah. But maybe 5 years later, they're like, oh, yeah, I remember now. And hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I know exactly what you mean, because what I do and say comes from my heart, soul, and my authentic energy as well. And I talk to people, whether I'm up on stage at events up here in New England, or I've been all the way across the country. And every once in a while, somebody will either cross a path on social media, or as it happened in person one time, somebody walked past me. I was in the Captain Crunch aisle at a grocery store, and this guy walks past and he turned around and goes, hey man, you're that speaker, right? And I turned around, we're the only two people in the aisle. I said, yes, sir, I'm a speaker. And I asked him a couple of questions, and he told me the event he was at. He talked about the picture that was on the screen at the time and the lesson behind it. And I said, well, what'd you do with it? And he told me he used the lesson. He went for a job interview the following week. He landed the job because he went with confidence and he connected and all of that. He goes, that really empowered me, that picture. And we figured out it had been 3 years.
Wow.
Since that event. And he said, when I just saw you, it all came back, and I knew I wanted to say thank you. And we just never know. I mean, in that one thing, I said the same thing I said to every audience. He was one of 85 people. And 3 years later, we crossed paths, and he told me that it actually gave him hope and confidence. And he walked into his next meeting, head held high, looking straight forward, not staring down from being unemployed for so long. And that it's nothing that I did other than share my authentic, positive, genuine, humorous message that day.
Yeah. It's so true. And some people are like, well, my job doesn't allow me to do that. You're a speaker, you're a psychic, you're a therapist, whatever, you're a coach or things like that. Like, no, guess what? You do go. If you're in a store and you see someone's awesome shirt and you really like it, tell them that you like their shirt. And like, they're like, maybe a lot of people don't like it. And you're like, yeah, I really like your shirt. And they're like, whole day is made. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Yep. Or like, you know, anything, hold a door for somebody, just simple gestures. I know you speak a lot about that. And I always like do that because it chain reaction, you know what I mean? It's a chain reaction. And then from there, you can slowly keep going, and then your passion will lead you to the job that will help people. I feel like all of our jobs, no matter what they are, they do help people if you're passionate about it and it's true to you. Yeah.
And like you said, we all have the opportunity, you know, just because maybe you're in an office or on a phone all day or whatever, you still have the opportunity to do what my grandfather's lesson, the greatest lesson he ever left. He never even said the words. but he would leave at least one situation a day better than he found it. And he was such a simple man, family man, a simple, quiet. I always called him my cute little old man. And that's who I want to be when I grow up, is like Pepe. If Pep drove past Julie's house while Julie was off in the woods somewhere on one of her journeys, and he saw a picket on your fence broken, he would go home, get his stubby little pencil, put it on his ear, go back, measure it, go home, make a picket, come back, put it on your fence, and you would never even know that he had been there. And we all have the opportunity, no matter what we do in this world, to do that for someone.
Yes.
Is even as in the summer, this summer, it was very, very hot. It didn't rain a lot. It was 100 degrees. I don't know how many days in a row. I saw these little kids who every day would put a little cooler on their porch with some ice water and some ice in it for any delivery person. And it was, you know, the mom or dad and the kids would do this every day. The kids got to be a part of it. And the kids would sit in the window and be so overjoyed when somebody would come up and see the little sign that says, please take one. And they would, and they'd give a thumbs up for the little doorbell camera. Or if they were in the window, they'd thumbs up. It just makes you want to do more when you do.
Yeah, even you just saying that story, I could feel the energy of it. I mean, but think about it. When you view someone who's happy and excited, that energy turns on you. If you view things that are, people are sad and crying, you feel that energy. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, if you saying, oh, I don't want to view sad and crying. Well, it's not that you can't help anybody the more sad you are. You know what I mean? You can't help someone the more, you know what I mean? The more sick you are, like, I think Dr. Wayne Dwyer used to say that a lot. It's like, you can't, give what you don't have. You know what I mean? So the more love you have, the more you can give, you know?
Every time I do something like that, it's I have a very addictive personality, which is why I've never touched a drug, because I would probably love them. But what I do is I just do good things that pick me up. And almost every single time somebody asks me, come on, Steve, they think I ride a unicorn that farts rainbows or something because I'm a motivational speaker. And I said, look, I'm a realist and I'm authentic. They said, don't you ever have a bad day? I'm like, I have plenty of bad days. I have plenty of times that could become bad days. You go, well, what do you do about it? I said, I leave the house. It's not as easy now, but I still managed to. I just did. Leave the house, and I commit an act of kindness or 2 or 10, however many it takes. Like today, it was at the post office, had to return something from my wife, Tina, and made the woman on the other side of the counter laugh. And I said, I hope I'm the meanest, nastiest person you deal with all day. And she goes, oh, no. And I go, wait a second. She goes, no, wait. Yes, I hope you're the worst, because I'm making her laugh. Now, we're both laughing. It affects the people 2 windows down at the post office. They're giggling a little bit. And it was just such a refreshing moment for both of us. Because I was mad at myself because I was supposed to do 2 errands and I forgot the second one. I forgot to bring something for the second one. So I'm like, ugh. And then I left the post office. I'm like, that was good enough. I'm good with that. And there was a car with a dog's head sticking out of it. And I just, we always talk to dogs. I'm like, look at you, beautiful pup, beautiful pup. And to see the tail going and like, okay, I just left this a little better than I found it. This dog's happy. The window was down. It wasn't hot out or anything, but the dog was happy and smiling, and I was happy too. So I came back home, and here we are.
Yeah, it's like you made a choice. You made a conscious choice. Your days are usually not always perfect. You know what I mean? You're not going to sit on the beach and put your sand in the feet every day. You know what I mean? It's not even those days. You might have a bird laying on your head. But it's what you make out of those choices. And you just don't, because it's energy. It's all energy. Like they say, you could have just been like, oh, well, and then the car could have done this and that. You would have went down a different path. You know what I mean? Maybe there would have been a huge line. You wouldn't have got out of there in time. But it didn't. Even if there was, you could have just started singing a song. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even if there's a huge line, even if I'm going to bail and just say, you know what, I'll just come back another time. I still make the people at the end of the line laugh while we're waiting. I'm like, hey, I'm the opening act for the post office guy.
I love it.
But just make them laugh a little bit. And even if I turn around and bail, I've left that a little better than I found it. And then I'm also not frustrated that I have to make a return trip or anything like that. Now, you just talked about energy, and I love this, and I want to wrap up with this. You and I watch some of the same TV shows talking about how we are just energy. You like Paranormal State, you like Dead Files. Tina and I watch Dead Files a lot. And
I like
you've
those
been
adventures
on some
too.
paranormal investigations yourself. And what do you find so fascinating about that, and what draws you to that?
Um, well, for me, it's the unknown. And like life after death kind of stuff. Because I've come to the conclusion that like we honestly really don't ever really die, as they say. We just transform.
Mhm.
I know it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, but when I was younger, I've always loved paranormal stuff, and I've had a few experiences, and I decided to join a team and do some investigations, and it's just extremely interesting to me. A lot of this stuff is rather dark or negative, which I don't really understand. I always say, imagine they had a show that goes to like holy, high energy places, and they look for spirits there. I'm like, oh, they're gonna make that show now because they said it. But then, imagine that. You know what I mean? How amazing would that be? It doesn't always have to be so dark. But I've always just really enjoyed it, and it's opened a lot of doors for me. You know what I mean? And I ended up doing the psychic work. I've always done that for a long time, and I took a class, and then I ended up on the radio show, and then I met another paranormal woman named Queen of the Paranormal. She's wonderful, and it's so funny how everything's kind of connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
really
there's so
like
many signs every day too that energy is around us. And like you said, it's not just bad. I know that, that sells, the evil side, the dark side of it all sells. But last week I was out back watering the plants in the morning, and a red dragonfly landed next to me when I was kneeling by one of the plants. And I didn't know how rare the red dragonflies are. So I just always assume it's my dad. So I just looked at it and I said, "Hey, bud," because that was our greeting for 35 plus years until he passed. And then I just went on my business. Later that day on social media, I saw 3 other people who posted that they saw red dragonflies that day. Somebody had looked it up and said how rare they are, and that they are, visitors, or just somebody checking in on us, or just drawn to us. And so that happened. And then I started to think, I've been jokingly, I've said this to my family for years. Look, I've been a wedding DJ for almost 30 years. If at my funeral you play YMCA or Chicken Dance, I'm going to come back and knock stuff off your walls and your shelves. And I said, and I'm not going to be one of those unintelligible whisperers that you see on Ghost Adventures. I'm just going to go, dude, seriously? Like, I'm not even going to whisper. I will muster all the energy I can to let you know, oh, you screwed up. And I want to come back, and I want to be that person, but who comes back with really great energy, who lifts moods, like when people are around, whatever energy, wherever I am. When I'm gone, I want to lift the energy of everything, not make it darker. And I do think that's possible.
I totally agree with you. And I don't understand, the fear, especially our culture. There's a lot of fear around death, and I'm not like promoting death or anything like that. But like, think about other cultures and even different places in the world, they celebrate life. I mean, every single one of us came from nowhere, and now we're here. We go back to nowhere, and we're all going to experience this. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid. Don't fear it, and and I also know, like, past loved ones, like, people have a really hard time. I've lost 2 of my brothers, and I know of other people who've lost a lot of family members and close dear ones. And it is hard. You need to, go through those emotions, but they're still here around you all the time. Talk out loud to them, write them a letter. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the more you do that, the better you'll feel, and the better they'll feel, because they're always there, no matter what.
Now, if somebody wanted to learn more about you, or to maybe even schedule a reading with you, should they just go to gardenforevertarot.com, or is there another way that people can reach out to learn more about you, connect with you on social media? What's the best way for somebody to connect?
Definitely gardenforevertarot.com. You can, shoot me an email, give me a call. But, if you look on Facebook, my business name is gardenforevertarot.com. I put a lot of great information out there, and posts, and Instagram too. So if you want to find me on there, hopefully I'll get back into doing more events in person and stuff, but I do phone readings, Skype readings, email readings. I do a little bit of everything.
Yep. And if somebody's in the general area, could they kind of take a little walk out in the woods with you and plug into the energy out there and do it there as well?
I would love that. That would be cool. I would just have to figure it out, really.
And I will suggest to people right now, when it comes around time that we can safely do that again, bring your flute and hang out with Julie and
Yes.
jam in the woods just down by the water and just plug right in. You're going to walk out of the woods a different person, and I predict it's going to be a better person.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. It's
Thank
so wonderful
you.
talking with you.
Always. Thank you so much for being on the Motivational Firewood Radio Show.